Are you also tired of verifying the street lights, identifying cars, bicycles all the time you submit a form in a website? I'm sure you are tired, and you also don't want your visitors to do the same thing. So let's improve the situation a little bit. Today in this video, we are going to integrate ReCAPTCHA V3 in Webflow. Currently, Webflow doesn't support it natively. Please support it, Webflow. If you're watching this video, please add that feature. But meanwhile, we are going to have a setup that allows you to integrate ReCAPTCHA V3 in Webflow. We have two different methods. One is going to be a little bit advanced setup. The second is going to be a little bit easier setup. So yeah, let's start the video. This is Harshit Agrawal. Welcome to Finsweet. Let's start this video.
That's a Finsweet.
So if you have integrated ReCAPTCHA before with Webflow, you might have noticed that Webflow doesn't support ReCAPTCHA V3 at this point. It supports V2. So you could go to your ReCAPTCHA admin console and generate a V2 token, secret key, and then integrate it with Webflow. So you can do it from the project settings. However, Webflow doesn't support V3 at this point. So that's why we are going to check out a method today. Actually, two different methods you can use to integrate ReCAPTCHA V3 in Webflow. So the reason why we should consider actually integrating V3 in Webflow, there were some few use cases also that I faced with our with my client and our client at Finsweet, where we kind of integrated this for them. So yeah, the first reason I have created a guide, which I will share at the end of the session. But the main reason here is going to be, again, ReCAPTCHA is going to reduce spams because it can filter out whether it's a bot or a human who is filling out the form. So reduce spam. And also ReCAPTCHA V3 in this setup itself, we are going to look over, like detailed control over how the form data is kind of getting managed in the backend. The second reason is going to be reducing friction. The ReCAPTCHA V3 is kind of invisible. As you might have seen that in ReCAPTCHA V2, we click on that I'm not a robot button. It kind of opens up a pop-up where we have to select different things, right? So that is V2, but V3, it's an invisible ReCAPTCHA, what we are going to integrate today. And the good part about that is it's kind of reducing the friction for you. So for example, if I show you just an example, this is just a test form that I created. And here you can see there is no button here that says, okay, I'm not a robot, something like that. So that is kind of plus point with ReCAPTCHA V3. Then the third thing is also going to be related to the spam filtering. So a lot of times spam happens because our endpoint URL, let's say you have MailChimp, you have Zapier webhooks, you have Make webhooks, right? So a lot of times you have those endpoint URLs set as your action URL. So if I go to a form, and if I go to the form settings, generally we set action URL here. So when we do that, it is exposed in our front end. That helps bots sending, like spam, basically submissions to your web. So in this method today, we are also going to protect our action or endpoint URL, so that it is not exposed in the front end. We will handle it in the back end, so that once the user is verified, we are sending the form data in the back end. So there is no way they can get access to the action URL, final action URL. So these are the top reasons why you may consider using ReCAPTCHA V3. So there are two methods. The first is using plain JS. So everything we will do is using JS. Now, I do want to give a small disclaimer here. I am not a JavaScript professional. I learned JavaScript while doing Webflow. So I write JavaScript, very basic things, and then I use ChatGPT to enhance it, or using my basic knowledge of JavaScript, I can at least generate some very helpful scripts and how to optimize those scripts and all of those things, okay? So if you see a mistake in my code, just let me know. Or if you have any other suggestions to improve it, you can feel free to let me know. And also I want to mention that because all the scripts that you will see here, it's prepared by me. So you should also consider using ChatGPT to create JavaScript for yourself, because it's such a powerful tool. If you just know the very basics of JavaScript, you can actually create really, really powerful solutions in Webflow. Okay, so with that note, let's start our setup. the number first method is JS method. The second one is going to be JS plus make. This is personally the one that I like most because you have more control easily. So you don't really have to write a lot of code, even if you want to make some adjustments to the backend. But again, let's just start it. So the first thing, again, JS method. For that, you will need a few resources. You will need ReCAPTCHA V3 admin console. So you can create a account here or sign up with your Google account, basically. Then we will need Netlify to deploy our code. We will need GitHub for our code repository. Repo. Okay, I cannot say that word. So I will just say repo. So we will need that. We will need GitHub to store our code or repo. And then code sandbox is optional. It kind of makes your life easier to test codes in Webflow. So I use code sandbox all the time. So I will simply open code sandbox and create a project in there. So code sandbox, what it will do, if you have used it, it will kind of help us write JavaScript in Webflow, and we can just put a script in Webflow. We don't have to republish our site every time we make a change to our code in the code sandbox. Okay, so here is code sandbox, and I will simply create a JavaScript file in it. Let's call this frontend.js. There we go. And here, what you need to do is, okay, let's start by step by step. So I have all my accounts set up. I have my ReCAPTCHA V3 right here. This is basically guide by Google, which we will go through, of course. Then I have a Netlify account, which is also set up. I have just opened it in another tab. I have also a GitHub repo. Again, I'm opening it in another tab of mine, which I will share soon. Everything is there. Now let's set up ReCAPTCHA V3. So here I will simply create a new site. This is my older site that I was kind of testing. And here I can give it a label. So I will give this a label of Finsweet session ReCAPTCHA V3. There we go. And you can see I can select whether it's a challenge-based or score-based. So we will go with V3. And here we need to add our domains where we will kind of have this. This is important because that's because Google kind of verifies where you are installing this. So make sure to just go to your main domain or your Webflow domain as well, like this subdomain, and just add that right here. Only this bit, okay? You can also add multiple domains. So you can add your custom domain, the main one, and this one too. So here we have it. And then I will simply click on submit, and then it will generate a site key and a secret key for me. So this is important. We will use this part. So let's copy this and come to our code. So the first thing is installing the ReCAPTCHA in our site. So we will simply copy this code here. It's kind of installing the ReCAPTCHA, the main JS code. You can also find this in the Google guide. So if I go to ReCAPTCHA, this is how you start installing it. The first one is not the one that we are going to use. The one we want to use is programmatically invoke the challenge. That is what we are going to do. And this is the code that we want to copy. Go to our Webflow website, go to page settings. In your case, you should go to your project settings because you want to integrate it on all the pages. If you have your form in multiple pages, in this case, we are going to only implement it in the in a single page. Okay, so let's copy the page wrapper. I will create a new page and call this JS only. And here I will just paste it and create a very normal form. There we go. Okay, this is cool. Let's copy this code and paste it in our website really quick. So we will put it in the head, just like this. Then let's scroll down, and then we need to add the front-end code. So this is our front-end code right here. We can add it in our head or body, but I have added DOM content loaded script here. So I will add it in my head, basically. You can add it directly to your Webflow like this, like script, and then just paste it here, something like that. Or you can basically put this code inside your code sandbox, which I'm going to do right now, just like that. And from here, you can take the URL of it. So frontend.js. Frontend.js. Let's see. There we go. So this is the URL of our code. If I just go to this URL, you can see all the code. So I will simply go here and type a comment. I will call it the front end code. Create a script just like this. Set src, which is the source, to this URL, just like that. Close the script tag. Open. Basically close the script tag, just like that. Cool. So these are the two things that we have installed, and I will simply click save. We have a site key which we want to replace. So let's copy our site key and go to code sandbox where we are keeping everything. So I will just copy my site key right here. There we go. I have replaced it. Save it. Then I will go to my page settings, and in the code that we placed in header, we also want to replace our site key. So as simple as that. You can see that I have replaced it. So right now we are just setting up the codes. You don't have to change anything. Just keep setting up the code, and yeah, as simple as that. And then we need to define, again, because I don't want you to kind of worry about the code, I have created URLs which is very similar to how our attribute works. And maybe if you like the solution, maybe there is a chance that we can maybe make an attribute solution out of it. But yeah, the thing is, it's called FS reCAPTCHA element, and you can define all of this. So first we define the form block. So let's go to the form block and keep adding the attributes. So this is our form block. I will also walk you through the code, actually, how this is working. I will define my success message, and I will also define my error message. Then I will define the loading text. So when I will click submit, I want a loading text there, like please wait or something like that. We are not submitting this forms to Webflow servers. We will be submitting it to a third-party server, like processing it to maybe MailChimp or something else. Okay, you can process it anywhere you want. But here we go, Webflow loading text. Then I can keep this maybe like PROC, processing. There we go, 3 dots. Processing. Then whether I want a reCAPTCHA badge or not, or whether I want to show any errors or results in console. So you can simply copy this, go to the form again. And there is one mistake that I did. You don't want to put this attribute in your submit button. You want to define it in the form block itself. So let's simply copy this and move it to the form block. So everything is stayed in one place. Loading text is equal to processing. Then show console is equal to true, because I want you to see some of the results that we got through console. Okay, I will simply publish it now. Now let's have a look into our code and how it works. So maybe I will go to this. Okay, so how we are basically doing it, first we are defining this is our form block. Inside form block, we have our actual form in Webflow. Then we are defining our server URL, and we are defining our site key, which we will use in our codes. Okay. Then we basically have defined this code based on the guide of Google itself. So here is a very basic guide in Google, basically how you can execute the code and generate a token. So this is our front end, which is our website. Okay. So when we start, this is what we want to do. When we start our form submission, what it does is the front end script that we have in the website, it generates a token for us. Okay. It generates a token that, okay, so like this is the right person. You have the authority to kind of generate the token. Your site is having the authority to generate a token. So all this thing is verified by Google, and it generates a token for you. Okay. Now you want to send that token for verification in the backend. So we need to set up a backend server, which is right here, which we can set up using GitHub plus Netlify, or we can set up it using make.com. So you don't really have to use GitHub or Netlify if you don't want to go there. Okay, so this is a backend server. Then backend server actually responds back us with a score. A score is from 0 to 1. Okay. This score is based on user behavior, because we are not taking users inputs like, okay, this is car, this is bridge, this is traffic light. Okay. So the score that is given by Google is reCAPTCHA is based on user behaviors, like mouse scrolls, what they are viewing, like scroll patterns, mouse movements, and all those kind of things they monitor. And based on that, they give you a score. So if you go to the Google guide, you can see that there is interpreting the score section where they see like 1.0. If someone is getting 1 score, that means that they are definitely a human. It's a good interaction. If the score is 0, that means very likely it's a bot. Okay. So this score kind of varies. Another thing is, based on the score, it's completely on you how you want to filter the form data. Okay. Let's say generally is above 0.5 score. If someone is getting, they are considered generally as a like good score. That is a human we will consider generally, right? But again, because there are a lot of factors in the backend, you can you can use it completely just like you want. Okay. For example, here are some use cases that you can see. For example, login with low scores. If someone is having a low score, ask them for a 2-factor authentication. So these are all the use cases that you can have the score for, but we are going to use it in the simple way just to show how it works. Okay. Okay. So let's, and this is the site verify response that we will get once we kind of run our code in the backend to generate the score. So for each form, so if you have multiple forms, this code will work with all the forms. You just have to add those attributes. We have defined a success element and we have defined an error element, because once the form is submitted, we want to show the success message. And then we have defined the loading text. Again, as simple as that. There are comments that you can find here. Then we can optionally hide the reCAPTCHA button. So for example, if I go to the live website, you will see a reCAPTCHA button on the right bottom. Okay, it is right here. It is not, okay, there we go. You can see the right here, there is a badge, the reCAPTCHA badge. If you want to hide it, you can simply set that attribute to true, which is right here. Where did I go? There we go, this one, FS reCAPTCHA badge, true or false. So we have that badge so that we can see it's working. If there is an error, it will just show error loading and something like that. Let's keep it for now, but you can hide it if you want to. Then we will make a small change to our form. We will just set the action URL to / so that Webflow's form stops working, and then method to post. So this is what we will do. And again, publish the site. And then we have the main form function basically. So once we click submit, first we are preventing default, which is like preventing Webflow form submissions. And then the second thing is we are handling our form submission. So first we are changing the submit value, submit button text to our loading text. Then we are generating the token. So you can see that G reCAPTCHA execute site key, which is straight away coming from Google's guide. So if you scroll up, you can see that we have this G reCAPTCHA execute. What this code does, it generates that token key that I'm talking about. So this line will generate the reCAPTCHA key. And if you want to see that reCAPTCHA key, you can remove this comment, which we will do right now. Let's remove it. So the reCAPTCHA key now will be visible to us in our Webflow site, basically. There we go. And let's scroll down. Then we are formatting our form data based on our requirements. And then we are basically sending the form data to the backend with the token. So if you see the form body itself, we are having the token, form data, and the serialized form data. Again, this is some kind of formatting we are doing here. Yeah, I can show you that response in the backend. Then we are having, let's see. Okay, we are changing back to our text to original submit button, so that if someone wants to resubmit, they can do that. Then we are just showing or hiding error and success message. If there is success, show it, just normal thing. Then we have a code for show success or error message in our console. That is good. Let's go down here. We have, again, we are resetting our submit button right here in the error if there is an error. And then here is the execution for our form function. So as simple as that. I hope it was clear. Okay, this is the front-end code. Let's scroll down. Then we want to define the form elements which we already did. Set the post. Okay, this is done. Let's go to GitHub and create our repo there where we want to keep our backend code. So I will create a new repo. There we go. Let's see. I will call this Finsweet session ReCAPTCHA. There we go. And I will make it private. Create repo. Cool. Now let's create a new file. So if you are using like VS Code, Visual Studio, if you're using it, you can create a local environment. So I'm not very pro again, as I said. I have tried that, pushing it from my Visual Studio code. But again, you can directly create it here because you already have the code. So create a new file. And then we want to create a desired structure for Netlify. This is how Netlify works. So we need to define our functions inside Netlify folder. And inside that, inside functions, we need to define our function. So let me show you how you do that. So inside here, you go to Netlify. So Netlify, you type here Netlify /functions/ and then you can type your function name. It can be anything like verify.js in our case, okay? So Netlify functions verify.js. I will click on, I will paste my code here. So let's scroll down and copy our backend code from here. Let's go to GitHub, paste our code. So this is our backend code. And just to explain again really quick what is happening here. So we have our site URL, which is because I am setting a control, like origin control here, origin control headers, which makes sure that this script or this server can only be used by my website and not any websites, right? So I am defining my site URL, then all the different things. So the thing is here, so I have set up environment variables that with the help of environment variables, what you can do is you don't really need to change any code here, again and again. You can simply set up those variables and change them from Netlify directly. You don't even have to touch your code from GitHub. So that's what I have done. So this is an environment variable. Wherever you see this process.env.mysiteURL, this is environment variable. So first we are defining the site URL. If you scroll down, then we are just having some normal course control here, which is again origin control. Then we have our secret key, which is again environment variable, which we will define in Netlify. Then we are having the API call that we want to make according to Google. So if I go to the Google's guide, you can see that if I go to verify the user response, in this particular guide, it will show you, okay, now we need to make a API call to this endpoint with method set as post and with these parameters, secret, response, and remote IP, which is optional. Okay, so that's what we are doing in our code. So if I go here and show you, we are making a post request to this URL, and secret and response we are defining. Token, again, we are getting it from our front end and sending it to the backend. So that's where it will get it. Secret key will be defined using our environment variable. So you could see now the parts coming together. And now we have our conditions. So if the verification is done, if verification is not done, throw an error, and this is what you will get with the error response and status. If the verification is success and the score is more than your threshold score, and threshold score is also an environment variable here, you can see. So we can define a threshold score, let's say 0.6, 0. Anything. If you have not defined it, by default, it will be set to 0.5. That's what we have in the code, but you can define it if you want to. This is a very basic code, guys. And then once that is done, based on the threshold, if the threshold is reached, it will send back a success response, basically. So here is a success response. It will send form response, threshold value, details. You can remove this. These are kind of optional, but you do want to send a form response that will be then again cached in the front end and give you a success message in Webflow. Okay, your form is successfully submitted. So that is what we want to do. So here you can see, if I scroll down, we are looking for a form response data. And if I go to the backend code, you can see that we are giving that form response. So now once we have done this, we will click on commit changes and commit changes like this. There we go. And now our verify.js is inside our GitHub as we wanted. Now let's go back to our main folder, this one, and we will create a new file here. So let's add a new file. create a new file. And this is going to be a package.json file. There we go. So you can create a package.json file, which kind of consists your configuration and dependencies. Like we are using Node in this one. So Netlify will install all the dependencies that you have described in your GitHub, basically. So let's copy this code again here. This is a very basic kind of format for your package.json file. I will change this name to maybe free Finsweet ReCAPTCHA Finsweet session. Let's change it. Session ReCAPTCHA. There we go. This is name of our like this configuration here, or this function, you can say. This is the version. You can again keep it as it is. Netlify function. There we go. And then here is our dependencies. Node fetch 2.6.1. This is going to be installed by Netlify. Once we install it, let's click on commit changes. There we go. Now our GitHub is ready. So the next step for us is going to be setting up the Netlify account, and they're creating a new site. So let's simply go to our Netlify, and there I can click on add a new site, import an existing project, deploy with GitHub, and I have a pop-up where I can select the project now, guys. So I will do that. Just a second. And I cannot see my project here, so I might have to configure it and give it the permissions, required permissions. So you can do that. Configure. Let's see. I'm just adding the permission to Netlify, and hopefully I will see it now. There we go. Now you can see I have added this. I will click on this, and I will just deploy my project in Netlify. As simple as that. I can also add environment variables. So let's add this because we have an opportunity here. So let's add that. So let's just scroll down and add all of our environment variables. So first is our endpoint URL, which we will create in Make. We will use Make for that. Okay. Our site URL, then let's add our site URL first, which is going to be this part. You have to take it from HTTPS up to .io. There we go. And make sure not to have that slash. It will give you a crash. So yeah, that rhymed nicely. So reCAPTCHA secret key, let's add that variable as well. We will take this from here, secret key. Secret key is something that is not supposed to be stored in the front end. That's why I'm storing it here. The third variable we are going to create is going to be score threshold. Let's keep this 0.5, or yeah, by default it is also 0.5. The site URL, the endpoint URL is where you want your form submissions to go. It can be MailChimp URL, it can be Make, it can be Zapier, it can be anything. But action URL, basically the real form action URL. And that's where you see what I mentioned in the very starting. Our action URL is not exposed in the front end. So there is no way for the bots to send you spams. Okay. So let's go here, copy our endpoint URL. For now, I will just paste this URL just so that I can publish it, but I will replace it with the Make one. Actually, let's do that. Okay, cool. So let's go to our scenarios, and I will create a new scenario here. I will call this Finsweet session again. Session ReCAPTCHA. There we go. Create a new webhook. Here I will create a new webhook. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen a very basic guide of Make, I've created that. You can find it in YouTube in our channel. Feel free to check it out, where I'm kind of showing you how you can use Make. So I will create a custom webhook. There we go. And I will add a new webhook. Let's call this again Finsweet session ReCAPTCHA webhook. I will click on show advanced settings. Okay, I don't need that for now. Just save it basically. Okay. And this is where we will actually receive our data after the verification is done. Okay. So let's simply click here and copy the address URL. Go here and paste this URL in the endpoint URL part. So all the environment variables are set now. Let's click deploy Finsweet, this website basically, deploy this server, and now it is building up our server. If there are any errors in our code, it will kind of notify us here. You can see our function is hosted. And if I go to site configuration and scroll down to environment variables, I can see all my environment variables are set up here. If I go to logs and function, I can see my verify function has been detected. I can click on it and get my function URL. And to answer C's question, this is the function URL which we will be using. So let's go to our front-end code and replace our function URL right here. There we go. It is replaced, and click save. So that's all from the front end. We don't want to change anything else in the front end. Okay, so this is what we have done now. The function is deployed, and our endpoint is also kind of stored there. Now we can also send back a response if we want to. So for example, let's go to our make, and I will click run once here. So it will run the automation. And now let's try submitting our form. So click inspect, go to console, and then I will type something here. Harshit, maybe @finsweet.com. Yep, and click submit. You can see this random text. This is the token that I was talking about. And you can see we received an error here. So this is kind of good because we checked show error is equal to true. Let's see if we have received it here or not. Okay, so you can see that we have received our form submission here. So if I click on it, you can see that I did receive my form submission and everything. Now, because there could be like furthermore automations that you want to do. Let's say you want to create a record in Airtable, then you want to send it to something else, right? You might want to send them a success message after the whole thing is done. So in order to do that, what you should do is you can add furthermore logic here, which will be like this. So endpoint URL, so you can see a screenshot that I have kind of added here. This might not be the, this is not the correct one. I will replace it. But again, you can send back a response here, a success response, which we are looking for the success response in our backend code, okay, not in our front end code. And if our front end is looking for our backend server success message, so it's kind of a two-way success message thing. So the thing is, you can see the format that we want, which is just like this. Copy this here and success. You can also send error message if you want to, like based on your condition. If you want to, let's say, set up a automation, you set up automation, something doesn't work out, set up an error message instead. So in error message, you will simply replace this to 401 and success will be false, and then whatever data you want to pass on. Okay, let's do error for success for now and connect our data to, let's say, name. Okay, and click OK. Now run once again. I will submit this again, and hopefully this time it will be submitted. Let's see. Success message, custom headers. Okay, so there is something wrong. I need to check it. Invalid JSON response body add. Okay, there is something wrong with my JSON maybe here. I need to provide maybe this because it's a string. Let's see. Now it works. Oh, now it is a success. You cannot see the success message. Let me quickly style it. It was just the wrong format that I was having there. So let's quickly change the style of this thing. There we go. Please don't mind the classes, guys. This is success, and we also have the error. So let's also make it visible. By the way, you can send any data as you have seen in your success and error. So you can also show custom messages here that is coming from the backend. It's completely on you. But yeah, our ReCAPTCHA V3 is now working. We have successfully integrated it. You can play with, the thing is, now let's say you want to change the threshold, you want to change anything else. Simply you go to your Netlify function, scroll down to site configuration, change your environment variables. Okay. For example, you can change your site URL, endpoint URL, secret key, threshold. Thresholds is something, again, you can change based on your needs. And let's say you want to add more logic to your code. because this is the first method, only JS method, you will have to change it in your backend code. So you need to go to, let's say, this part right here, and you have to define your new logic, maybe using ChatGPT, or if you are good at JS, you can define it here. Like maybe you are making call to more places, and like it's completely on you how you want to use it. But this is the basic setup. Once it is verified, now you are sending your data, form data, to make. So the good part is, if there is a bot, the data will not even receive or touch make itself. Yeah. By the way, the free plan of Netlify is kind of very sufficient. You can check it out. I'm not 100% sure about exact. I think they do provide a lot of flexibility. I mean scalability. Sorry. And yeah, their free plan is kind of more than enough. But feel free to check it out. And this is how it works. Now let's jump to method number 2 of setting this up. This is actually my personal favorite method. I mean, in both of them, I like this more because we don't need Netlify, we don't need GitHub in this. Everything, we instead set up all of those parts inside make.com instead. So let's change this name to JS only so that we are not confused. And click save, click tag. Let's go to Webflow and copy this page, create a duplicate, call this make method. Now let's follow this. From first to fourth step, the process will be same, where you are kind of pasting this script in your page. Then you are adding the front end code, which is like this. So you can add it directly to Webflow or using Code Sandbox. Code Sandbox is good for testing, but once you are done, just move it to Webflow directly. So that is the second thing. And then the third step is defining the form, which we have done. From here, from step 5, you need to part ways, and this is where it becomes fun. So let's create a new scenario here. Call this ReCAPTCHA make method. Okay, so yeah, let's create a new webhook. So what we are going to do, let me actually explain you that as well. So if I go to again this sheet, so this part we are doing in Webflow front end. Once the form submission is made, it generates a token. Now instead of setting the backend using GitHub and Netlify, we are going to use make for our all the backend logic, because that becomes no code for you, right? And if I go to the guide of Google itself, you can see that we just want to make a API call to this particular, where is that? Okay, in the verify response itself, we just want to make API call, a very simple API call to this particular URL. So that's what we are going to do. So let's simply add a webhook first here. There we go. Custom webhook. And I will call this webhook. By the way, guys, I'm not coming up with name. Maybe make method ReCAPTCHA make method. There we go. And I will turn this option on, get request headers. That will also get the remote IP parameter automatically. Again, you can see that it's kind of very seamless, So we have this option which is called remote IP, which is optional. This is user's IP address. If we provide this address, it becomes kind of more efficient for ReCAPTCHA to give the user a score. Because it can also check their IP address. So this is optional, but it is recommended. So make sure to do that. And if I scroll down, let's start following this guide. And you can see this is how the automation should look like in the end. So let's do this. So the very first thing is we need to create this webhook, save it, or click OK, and it will generate a webhook URL for us. Now, because we are using this instead of GitHub and Netlify, this is our server URL this time, okay? So what we will do instead is this time, let's simply go to our front-end code, and I will create a new page here, call this make method.js. Let's do that. This is also our front-end, but I'm just calling this make method.js. Or maybe if I can rename it, make method. front end. There we go. Frontend.js. And we will take this code. Let's go here in this one, copy the whole code, paste it here, and I will simply replace my server URL. So let's remove the example. This server URL, I will replace it with my make webhook URL. That's where I want to now send my data for the verification itself. Okay, so there we go. It is replaced now. The site key remains the same, and I will save it. Cool. Let's publish it. Let me check here if everything is good. Oh, I need to change this part. So let's change this. There we go. Everything else remains the same. Save and publish. Okay, we have published it. Let's go here and I will make a form submission, and I will just click on this, run this module once so that we receive the form submission here. Processing it, and you can see I've received it here. Here I don't see any success and error because I'm not sending any response back yet. Okay, so we will do that. So here is what we have received. We have received our token, and we have received our form data, which is name and email, and we have received our headers, which we actually got from turning on that request header options. So here we received a lot of things like IP address and all whatnot. We received a lot of things. So let's click cancel and add a new module. Here we want to make HTTP request. So what Google wants us to make. Okay, so according to the Google guide, we will do that. Click on HTTP, make a request. Let's go to the Google URL. I will copy this, or you can follow this in the site as well in the Notion doc. So copy this URL, go to here, paste this in the URL. Method will be set to post, query string, just set those values that we have. So secret, response, and remote IP, and you need to map those values. So secret will be mapped to your site secret. Again, because we are setting backend here, you need to define it here in this case. So let's copy our secret key, go to our Google again, paste it here. Then I need to define my response. Response is our required token, which is the token that we have generated. So in response, we will pass the token. The value will be token. And third will be remote IP. So remote IP is optional, but we will get it from our headers. You can see right now I don't see it because there are multiple levels of nesting here, and that's why sometimes it doesn't show it, but there is a way to kind of get it. There is a function here which you can use. It's called, map. This is the function. So let's click on map. So using map function, we can basically go to one nesting level down, which I will show you. So if you see the data that we have received, I have to find this CF connecting IP, and this is the IP address. And let's copy this value like this and just type it here. So I want my header. Inside my header, this is my array right here, and this is my collection, sorry. And then complex array or my collection, and then I need to define what I want. I want to get value. Okay, so this is, if you go here again, you can see that we have name and value. So I want to get value where the variable itself is called name, and the value of name itself is CM connecting IP. So we need to define those three parameters in order to get the value. So I need value. The label itself is, the label for me is name, like this. And then I can define what I basically want. So for example, value, there we go, value, label, work and home. Okay, so now I need to define here connecting IP, like that. There we go, and click OK. And I will simply click on run once, make a submission again, so that I can see it is working. If it is working, you can see the input response, and you can see that it is submitting my IP address correctly. This is, by the way, remote IP response. Response is not sent, you can see for some reason here. Let's see. token is generated, but it is not sent. Maybe I have not mapped it correctly. Let's see. And I will also parse the response so that it is available to map later. I think it should work. Not sure why. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it is sending the response. And then, yeah, we have this. There we go. And now you can see the response that we received from Google. It's called the success is equal to true. Again, if I go to the guide, you can see this is exactly the same structure that you receive here. True, then error codes, then you receive a score as well. So this is how the response kind of looks like. Or is this not the one? Oh, this is the one. There we go. Site verify response. So this is the response that you get. Success, score, action, challenge, host name, and reports. Same thing you kind of receive here. You can see action is submit, score is 0.9. Now, because the verification is done, now you need to set up the filter, which is threshold. For that, we will add let's say a router. Again, from this point, it's completely on you how you want to set up your automation. So here, I will add a few filters so that it's only submitted by trusted users and my website. So first, I will set up a filter here and I will call if token exists. Okay. So I can basically set a condition, only process if the token exists. That is one filter. I can add one more if I want to. Let's say if the origin is my website, right? So you can get those as well. Maybe you will find those in the headers. I'm not sure, but yeah, you can set up all kind of. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can set up all kind of filters you want. Basically, you can see like system is Windows, and yeah, it's completely on you how you want to filter it. But the basic filter again, if token exists. Let's create this is done, and then we want to add two more filters. The first is going to be, let's say we will call it human response. Okay, so if human, and how we are defining it? We are defining it based on the score. So if the score is greater than 0.5, then we consider that as a human. And if the score is, if bot, let's say we are considering that. If the score is less than or equal to 0.5, then we consider that as a bot. In this case, so our threshold will be 0.6 basically. And then we will send back a webhook response. So we can send any response we want. Again, we have an example here. So let's copy this example. This is a JSON response that we are sending. Copy it, paste it here. So form response, human verification passed. You can put any values you want to use in the front end. Let's say you want to use this value in your form success message. You can do that, as simple as that. Success is equal to true. This is important because this is what our code is looking for in the front end. Again, if I show you the front end code, we are looking for form response is equal to success. There we go. So success exists basically. So, and we can also map some of the attributes from, if we want to see more details in the front end, I will just add my score here as well. Click OK. And let's add a response for error as well. So error for this, I can give a code from 400 to 600. I think that is the range for HTTP codes. So error is this one. Let's simply copy this error, paste it here, as simple as that. The human verification failed. Click OK. And our setup is ready. Let's say you want to send the form submissions to MailChimp, right? So what you need to do is simply click here, add a module. Let's say you want to send it to Airtable. So add Airtable, whatever you want to do, you have to do it here. So you can do it here. And you can see this way our data is protected because we first verified it. And then we kind of, sorry, not here. Instead, I think I did a small mistake here. So I will delete this module here. So once our data is verified as human, here we want to now start connecting our, like, create a record, right? Here we can set up a rest of our automations. Here is a magic symbol that kind of reorganizes your automations here. So here you can now keep defining whatever you want to. And you can keep the response in the end as well if you want to. Let's say you want to make sure that the response are submitted in the right place before you show them a success message. So you can keep the response in the very end. But response is important. That's how that's what is going to make your success message visible in the website. So yeah, let's continue here. Click delete this, and I will save this, run it once, and now I will make a form submission. Click submit, and I should see the success message now. There we go. Now let's click on inspect and go to console. And in my console, I should also, let's clear the console. I should see the response here. Let's refresh it. Site, if anything is wrong. Yes. Oh, my bad. It's not turned on. That's why I need to click run once again. If you just turn it on, it will work all the time. So let's click submit again. There is my token and there is my response. As simple as that. So you can see that I received details, which I set right here. See, details is equal to score. Score is 0.9. Then form response, let's zoom in a little bit, is human verification passed. True. Now in the front end, you can use this message to show it in the front end in a message. You can do anything you want. It's completely flexible and it's completely depends on you. Okay, so these are the two ways to kind of set up ReCAPTCHA V3 in Webflow. The second setup is much easier. You don't need any coding at all. Even for the logic, you can define it completely no code using make. And that's what I would do personally. But if you, let's say, want a very simple setup, you don't want to go, you don't want to have an advanced setup. What you could do is you can use something like FormSpark. So FormSpark is a online tool that you can use that can integrate with Webflow form using an action URL, and it can integrate with a few services like ReCAPTCHA, and you have different things. You have different options here. It can also integrate with Turnstile, which is by Cloudflare, I think, which is also very similar. So if you see their documentation, it works the same way. These are all invisible reCAPTCHAs, basically, invisible verifications, which gives you a score based on the user behavior. So you can check out that. This is a simpler word, like if you have a simple form, you just want to set it up, you do this. But if you want more control, more deep control over how your form data is getting controlled, you can use this option here. With FormSpark, let's say the verification is done there, then you can come to make and set up rest of the automation. But again, I do wanted to create this session so that everyone is kind of aware of this method as well, which is a more advanced method and unlock more opportunities for you, basically. Okay, there is one thing I'm missing, which is giving more powers to your form. So because we are now using Webflow forms here, and the code that I have made it in a way that it supports Finsweet attributes. So if you go to attributes by Finsweet and you search the option called form submit like this, you could copy the script and install form submit here. Form submit is the solution by Finsweet that kind of allows you to add more power to your form, like a reset form button and like reset trigger. You can add IX trigger, like once the form is submitted, click on a button. So you can see where I'm going. You can actually make the whole thing a no code, basically. Just copy and paste things and just add some attributes and keep changing the value. So it's kind of a low code, no code setup, almost. You can add all the powers that you see here, like reload, prevent reset, all those things. You cannot add a form enhance because this is used to send the data to third-party URL, because we are already sending it using JavaScript to our make URL, so we don't need this option. But you can use rest of it, like redirect, reload. You can use, like, you can reload the page after some point. So let's try it actually. So I need to define my form first. I quickly wanted to show you this as well. So let's quickly define our form. This is our form. There we go. And now I want to define a, let's say, reset trigger. So in the success message block, let's add a button and call this reset. And I will define this as my reset button. There we go, which will reset the form for me. Or reload the page. I can do that. Or actually reload the page after some time. So reload the page after 2 seconds. Let's do that actually. That will be cool actually. Yeah. So I can set up a delay. So let's do that. Reload after 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds. Save it, publish it. And I need to add it to the form element, which I did already. So let's see if this works. So you can see that the form submit will make sure that, you have more options in your website, basically in your forms. So let's click submit, processing. Okay. Oh, I need to run it once again. Wait for the new data, refresh. You can turn on the automation, guys. I am in a free plan, so I cannot turn it on right now. But yeah, click submit, success message, and within 2 seconds, it should refresh. Oh, and it didn't refresh. Yeah, so that's a nice way to start. Yeah, nice way to end our session, basically. But let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Or maybe reset the form submissions. Let's do that actually. It might be not working properly. After 2 seconds, the form submissions will be reset. Let's do that. Refresh. Okay, submit. Oh, I need to again run the automation. I keep forgetting that. Wait for the new data. Submit. There we go. And voila, it's working. Yeah, so you can use this as well to enhance your form. Again, if you want less code in your life, go with option number 2. Okay, so that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Drop any questions down in the comments. If you have any questions, you will find everything related to this video, like the guide itself, in the description below. Everything that we used will be provided in the description. Let us know if you want to see more form tricks or more security related form tricks. And let us also know what you use to enhance your security of the form. Meanwhile, this is Harshit Agrawal signing off. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye-bye.